The Fate franchise is loaded with characters that would be a blast to play, and so I'm hoping that Fate Samurai Remnant gives us more servants to use in the DLC. So today, I will be going over 16 servants, 2 for each of the core 7 classes, and 2 extra class servants. And for a bit of extra fun, half the list will be for the servant I think is most likely to get in, and the other will be my own pick. And I'm not willing to pretend to be unbiased. So with that in mind, let's start off with the Sabers. For the Saber that I think is most likely to get in the game, we have Okita Soji. This is just me mostly hoping that they'll settle for a Saber face rather than Saber herself, though. I get she's the mascot of the franchise, but honestly, she doesn't need shoved in everything. And plus, Okita Soji just kind of fits the aesthetic more. Plus, it would just be really interesting to see a servant from the future of Japan show up. Not to mention, as far as Sabers go, she is fairly popular. And considering the servant she hangs out with, there's no way she wouldn't be a fun addition to the cast. Now, as for the Saber I want the most, we're still staying in Japan. Though I'll admit, we are getting a little more divine. The Saber I'd want most for the DLC of this game is Ibuki Doji. Now, I have no clue that if they included servants as DLC, if they'd have any interaction with the other characters at all, but if they did have a section for that, Ibuki could have some fun dialogue with Koga Saburo especially. But more than anything, I just really like Ibuki Doji. Enough that she actually overrode my Fox Girl bias and Suzuka Gozen missed this slot. She would definitely have to be overpowered though, right? She's an absolute powerhouse, so there is no way she's not gonna be a hell of a lot of fun to play. And if you think she's only here because I have a thing for monster girls, you're right. And now for the archers. And as for the one I think is most likely, we have Minamoto no Tametomo. Now, do I know anything about Tametomo? No. Do I think he'd make the developers the most money? No. Does he look cool as hell? Yes! So why do I say he's most likely instead of my personal pick? Well, that's mostly because he just looks like he fits. I mean, he looks interesting. He looks right for the style they're going for. He honestly looks a lot like Ryder. So, yeah, I see no issue with this. Plus, I remember a lot of people looking forward to his release in Fate Go, so I know he's got a fan base. As for my personal pick, I couldn't really go for anyone other than Tomoe Gozen. The Rogue Saber's either her husband or son, so I just want to see the interaction there. Plus, she is a favorite of mine from Fate Go, so. Plus, Tomoe is noted for her strength and brutality, so she might not even play like an archer. And I'm not gonna pass up her ripping off a guy's head like she walked out of Mortal Kombat. And now for our first servant that isn't Japanese. I think by far the most likely Lancer to show up would be Mellowscene. I have nothing to really explain here. It's just because she's really popular. Popular enough that I think we could say, hey, screw aesthetic, put her in there. People will buy. As for my own personal pick, I'm choosing Neja, almost entirely based on how much fun I think she would be to play. She seems like she'd be the quick fighting type, and that just looks like a lot of fun to me. Plus, she can fly. They probably wouldn't be able to make any use of that, but it's cool. Yeah, no, this one's pretty much just personal bias again. I just really like Neja. And of course, so sorry if I'm mispronouncing anything. And once again, for the riders, the most likely pick has to be one of the more popular ones. In this case, I'm going with Ozymandias. For one, I just don't think we have another servant that would play anything like him. 2, his big bombastic personality seems like he'd play off the other characters well. 3, like I said before, he's pretty popular. And most importantly, Gil's already in this game, and I just need to see these two interact more often. I never said I'd keep the bias to my own picks. But speaking of my biases, my pick for Rider would be Sakamoto Ryoma, because I just love everything about this guy. He's cool, his design is sick, Oreo's great, and like I said before, having servants from the future of Japan would be interesting in this setting. And like I mentioned before, with Oreo, he could really play unlike anyone else. Give us Fate's best couple, you cowards! Look, I'm no fool. I know there's no way we're not getting through this without having Arturia in some form. So maybe we can at least diversify a bit with Castoria? Because, I mean, hell, like her original form, she's insanely popular. Plus, she'd probably just be a lot of fun, shooting magical beams everywhere. As far as casters go, she's kind of straightforward. We can see from her animation, she's good at melee and long-range fighting, so, you know, that'd be pretty interesting to see. And for my personal pick, unfortunately, I had to restrain myself and not say Tamamo. We already have one of the Tamamo 9 in this game, but I'm not giving up on the animal ears. So, Nitocris, I choose you! And it's not even just personal bias this time. She would have a really interesting playstyle. I can see it now. An army of Medjed walking through the streets of feudal Japan. In all seriousness, Nitocris would have some gameplay opportunities other casters wouldn't, specifically because of how many minions she has. The Medjed will look fun and quirky, and Nitocris is pretty popular. And not to mention her whole connection with the underworld would give her a pretty unique aesthetic. Look, when Miyamoto Musashi is this important to the game, there is no way we can't put in Sasuke Kojiro, right? Are we all in agreement here? There's really really no better pick for Assassin, I think. He fits the aesthetic super well, he's already connected to one of the servants in the game. Let's face it, if they were gonna put an assassin, it's gonna be Sasuke. He'd have a pretty simple, straightforward, powerful moveset. Honestly, he's so obvious, it's kinda hard to talk about. Now, for my personal pick on assassin, there is no way I could leave out the king of assassins. Yeah, he might be one of those powerful servants we know of, but let's face it, that's just gonna make people wanna play him more. And it's DLC, it's not like you have to justify him being there. Nothing really needs to be said about this one, right? He's the king of assassins. He looks cool. He'd play cool. He'd be powerful. It'd be so much fun. Plus, it just feels weird when a Fate property doesn't acknowledge the Hassans in some way, so. If there is any servant Fate fans would like to play as, I can't think of anyone better than Heracles. He's somehow not in the Excel games, and I have the urge to tear through people with the OG Berserker. And he is damn iconic for the franchise. The moment they put him up, this game would double in profits. I swear it. And my own personal pick stems from one thing and one thing alone. Penthesilea has one of the most unique weapons in the series. It's basically just super long mace, but are you telling me you don't want to see that thing just flinging through people? Berserkers are unstoppable forces, and hell yeah, I want to play as the one that's got range. Plus, as far as Berserkers go, I do think she has one of the more fun personalities. Now, let's get a little unhinged with the extra class. Now, my pick for the most likely was actually pretty easy. Because honestly, there's no better fitting extra class servant than Taira no Kagekiyo. Or if they wanted to give us a regular Yoshitsune, I wouldn't complain about that. But yeah, this is another case where it feels so obvious, I really don't think I can explain. She'd just be a perfect fit. She'd also just be a lot of fun. So you know what? Hell yeah, I am all here for Kagekiyo. But not quite as here as I am for my last pick. What extra class servant do I want in the game more than anyone else? Bibi! No, I don't care how unlikely they would be. I don't care that it doesn't make any fucking sense. I like Bibi. I want Bibi. Thank you for listening to my insane ramblings. Goodbye!